All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're doing something really fascinating. We are bridging the massive gap between thousands of years of ancient philosophy and the absolute cutting edge of modern physics. It's a journey that asks a pretty profound question. Did ancient sages somehow map out the architecture of our universe long before we ever had telescopes, particle accelerators, or quantum math? Prepare to have your perspective totally shifted as we unpack the astounding, almost unbelievable parallels between the Bhagavad Gita and modern scientific reality.
We've got to start with the father of the atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer. When he witnessed the awe-inspiring and, let's face it, terrifying power of the very first nuclear explosion, he didn't quote a contemporary scientist. He didn't quote a modern poet. His famous reaction was actually a direct quote from chapter 11 of the ancient Hindu text, the Bhagavad Gita. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." He recognized in that moment that the raw, foundational energies of the universe he had just unlocked, well, they had already been described millennia ago. To really get why Oppenheimer was so struck by this, we have to set the scene on the ancient battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here, the warrior prince Arjuna is completely paralyzed by doubt. So, to help him understand the true, fundamental nature of reality, his guide, Lord Krishna, grants him a temporary divine vision to see his Vishwarup. This is a mind-bending cosmic form that contains the entire universe, everything moving and non-moving, packed into a single body. Arjuna literally sees the ultimate reality, and it just completely shatters his standard human perception. So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll quickly touch on the ultimate cosmic vision, decode the multiverse theory, explore relativity and cosmic time, look at the cosmic web connection, and finally wrap up with quantum mechanics and Maya. Let's get right into it.
Starting us off, Section 1, the ultimate cosmic vision. Moving right along to Section 2, the multiverse theory explained. Okay, so our very first major scientific parallel and arguably the most mind-blowing analogy highlighted directly in Chapter 11 is the multiverse. Now, in the modern scientific community, physicists like Hugh Everett formally introduced this idea back in 1957. Everett's many worlds interpretation suggested that many realities actually exist simultaneously right alongside our own, each operating under its own specific conditions. Today, obviously, you see the multiverse literally everywhere in pop culture and Marvel movies, but as a strict scientific framework, it's our way of explaining the infinite mathematical possibilities of quantum mechanics. Now, imagine trying to visualize this exact same concept, but thousands of years before Hugh Everett was even born. When Krishna reveals his universal form in Chapter 11, Arjuna doesn't just see one simple world. He is absolutely bombarded with a staggering vision of hundreds of thousands of faces, infinite suns, moons, and just countless planetary systems, all completely contained within a single cosmic space. It wasn't just Earth he was seeing. It was an overwhelming overlapping of multiple realities and universes, all functioning simultaneously, governed by one supreme energy.
It's absolutely wild to think about. The crucial point here is that whether you're a physicist in a modern laboratory looking at complex quantum wave equations or an ancient sage in deep meditation describing a divine revelation, you are fundamentally describing the exact same phenomenon. The ancient texts use the analogy of a supreme cosmic body holding infinite worlds, while modern science uses the math of parallel dimensions. But the core truth? It remains identical.
Which brings us to Section 3, relativity and cosmic time. When you look at the timeline of these concepts, the gap is just staggering. Over 3,000 years ago, the Gita was already describing time as cyclic and relative, and yet, it wasn't until 1905 that Albert Einstein published his theory of relativity, officially proving to the scientific world that time bends, it stretches, and it is entirely dependent on the observer. In his divine vision, Arjuna was totally freed from the normal linear limits of space and time. You know, our human brains kind of have to chop time up into past, present, and future because, well, that's really all our senses can handle. But with his cosmic vision, Arjuna saw the seed, the sapling, and the fully grown tree all at the exact same split second. He saw the very beginning and the absolute end of the universe happening simultaneously. This perfectly echoes Einstein's discovery that time is definitely not a fixed ticking clock, but a fluid relative dimension.
All right, on to Section 4, the cosmic web connection.
So, how does this whole giant system actually stay together? Modern science points us to string theory and the concept of the cosmic web.
Physicists propose that at the absolute deepest, subatomic level, everything isn't just made of tiny, isolated dots. Instead, we're looking at microscopic, invisible, vibrating strings. Every single particle in the universe constantly influences every other particle. We are all entangled in this vast, invisible web of energy. Literally nothing exists in absolute isolation.
And here's where the Gita gives us this brilliantly simple way to understand it, specifically in chapter 7, verse 7. It uses an incredibly easy-to-grasp analogy. It states that everything in the universe is connected to a supreme source, just like diverse pearls are strung together on a single invisible thread. Even though the pearls, meaning the planets, the stars, you, me, the animals, all look completely different on the surface, they are firmly held together by the exact same underlying structure.
Whether you're looking at the natural, changing seasons of a biological life cycle or peering into an electron microscope at subatomic strings, that invisible thread is what keeps the entire cosmic necklace intact. When we truly realize this, as the ancient texts teach, we understand that harming any part of the web intimately affects the whole thing. And honestly, that's a concept that modern ecology and physics both heavily support today.
Finally, let's hit section 5, quantum mechanics and Maya.
Let's dig into the deepest mystery of them all. In ancient Hindu philosophy, there's this central concept called Maya. Basically, Maya means that the physical world our everyday senses perceive is an illusion. It's a projection hiding a much deeper, far more profound reality. And fascinatingly, over in quantum mechanics, we run into a very similar, mind-bending paradox known as the observer effect, or wave function collapse. Modern physics literally tells us that reality at the quantum level is just a fuzzy cloud of probabilities, and it only takes on a definite physical shape when a conscious observer actually stops to look at it.
We see this idea pop up literally all the time now. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed the simulation theory, this idea that our world might just be an artificial construct. You see it in huge movies like The Matrix or Avatar. But put that right next to Maya from ancient India, the idea that the physical world is just a projection by a supreme cosmic energy. Whether you call it taking the red pill, plugging into Pandora, or transcending Maya through deep meditation, it all points to the exact same ultimate goal: waking up from the persistent illusion of our daily limited senses to see the actual underlying code of the universe. So here's the ultimate question I want to leave you with today. When you look at the multiverse being described on a chariot thousands of years ago, the cosmic web woven like pearls in a string, and quantum reality perfectly mirrored in the concept of Maya, you really have to stop and ask yourself, are we actually discovering brand new physics in our modern labs, or are we simply just translating ancient cosmic visions into modern mathematics? Think about that the next time you look up at the stars. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the universe around you.